So we're out on an open road, the DB12 in Sport Plus. It's a very different animal. Oh dearie me. That is fast.
Search AutoTrader.
This is the new Aston Martin DB12, the first product from Aston since Daddy Stroll came on board and, well, made some changes, particularly to the infotainment system, but we'll get to that later. Let's take you through some of the key differences between this and the frankly gorgeous predecessor, the DB11. Now, this particular car is a UK-based pre-production press unit that Aston Martin South Africa have given to us for a few hours today. So let's take you through the differences and see what the DB12 has to offer. So, the DB12, I mean, let's get into it. Let's look at the thing. It's one of the most stunning cars I've ever seen in my life. How they manage to get something to look as good as this does and conform with all the safety regulations in 2024 is beyond me. It's truly a feat of design and engineering. Now, looking at that badge DB12, you might be thinking Aston Martin, famous for V12s. This is a DB12, should have a V12. Forget about it. No V12. Exclusively available with the M177 AMG derived V8 motor. It's got slightly bigger turbochargers now, arranged in a hot V. It's also got a more aggressive cam profile, producing nearly 500 kilowatts and 800 newton meters of torque. So certainly not shy on performance. Now, putting that performance to the ground is a ZF 8-speed torque converter, slightly different from the previous one. And it's got the first application ever of the Michelin Pilot Sport 5S tires, developed specifically for this particular product by Michelin. Another first for the car is the Bilstein dampers, which make this car the only product in the world to have a combination of these particular Bilstein dampers and the new Michelin tires. Which brings me on to the next piece of marketing spiel from Aston Martin, which is that the DB12 is now a super tourer. So a supercar combined with a Grand Tourer. Now, the predecessor of this vehicle, the DB12 or DB11 should I say, was firmly in the camp of Grand Tourer. And if you think of supercars, you think of things like Porsche 911 GT3 RS and McLaren 750S, and you fill in the blanks. Now, McLaren created a super GT of sorts with their GT, but it didn't really work because it was a supercar that was also trying to be a Grand Tourer. This is a Grand Tourer that's trying to be a supercar. So I wonder if doing it the other way around works. So let's head out on the road in the DB12 and see what it's like to drive. So here we are aboard the new Aston Martin DB12. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the product we're driving here is a pre-production model that has been sent over from the UK as a demonstrator, allowing some of the journalists around the globe to drive the product. So let's give you some initial impressions, right? So having chatted with the brand, they are marketing this as a car that can do a variety of things. So it can still do the grand touring thing, but they also claim that the driving modes are so different from one another that there really is a case for this being both a supercar and a GT. I've now been driving the car for the past 10 kilometers or so in this GT mode, and I've got to say, all things considered, pretty easy to drive and live with. Ride quality is good. I'm not sitting here with any of my teeth fillings rattling out. It's typical Aston Martin in that regard. It is very comfortable, and what I found interesting is even though the bonnet is exceedingly long and the car can feel intimidating when you hop on board initially, within the first few minutes of driving you get very comfortable with your ability to see out and how you perceive the road and where you are in relation to the road. So I feel very comfortable in the car very quickly. But as I've been reminded by the people that I work with, because I switch from car to car quite often, I do have a slightly shorter period between when I acclimatize and when I don't. So I think if you have been used to driving the same car for a very long time and you hop into a car like this, you will be a lot more intimidated because it does feel quite low, it feels quite wide, and it feels quite long. You struggle to sort of find out where each corner is, but I have to say, for me, the car started to shrink pretty quickly, having driven it. When Daddy Stroll took over the Aston Martin division and wanted to improve the product so that they could get better market share and become more profitable, his big bugbear, and I think rightly so, was the infotainment system. Now, this new system apparently has been worked on by some of the best minds, or perceived best minds, from some big tech and car companies. And at the time of its release was the highest resolution system of its kind in the market, but I think since then there are probably systems that have either bettered it or equaled it. Either way, not the biggest screen in the world, this little rectangular system here, but the car isn't really centered. It's not like a Tesla where the screen is sort of one of the main selling points of the car. The screen is just for out and out convenience, so you can have your map, so it's not the be all and end all of the car, but its functionality is very good. I've got wired Apple CarPlay. This pre-production unit is currently only wired Apple CarPlay, but at least I've got Apple CarPlay. The production units, there were some downstairs, and I went downstairs before we headed out in this unit and had a quick sit, look and feel in the production units, and they are built better and they are finished a lot better than this pre-production unit, just for your information. It's something that they wanted to show me too, because I think upon initial inspection in this car, I was quite impressed with the quality, but maybe there were some areas where I thought, oh, that's a bit maybe iffy, but they did show me downstairs that the production units are noticeably better in terms of the way they finished. So that was, I think, good on their part. We also have a digitized instrument cluster in the center here. Everything's very nice, very easy to see, very easy to use. The system operation is pretty intuitive. There is a technology sharing with Mercedes-Benz with Aston Martin, as we've seen in the Formula One team. They're taking things quite seriously, so some of the sub-menus and some of the things inside the cabin, like this indicator stalk and this light adjustment here at the bottom right underneath one of the HVAC fences, lifted from the Mercedes-Benz parts bin. But that aside, a lot of bespoke Aston Martin stuff in here and really solid build quality. When you look at the interior overall, just such a huge step up from DB11. Now, I wasn't fortunate to ever drive a DB11, but I spent quite a lot of time as a passenger in one, and I also have fiddled with the DB11 quite a bit on the showroom floor, just to sort of get my bearings with Aston Martin products, and this is miles ahead of the DB11 in pretty much every way inside. It's also a very nice Bowers & Wilkins sound system. This is, as I mentioned earlier about the Tyres and the Bilstein dampers, the Bowers & Wilkins sound system in this car is also the first time that they've used this new audio system for an automotive application. In summation, as a daily driver, I mean, I know there will be an infinitesimally small amount of the people that buy this car that actually daily drive it, but if you do buy a DB12, it's nice to know that it's good to spend time in. I've been now driving through Johannesburg traffic, and honestly speaking, it has not been all that different from driving a standard vehicle. I mean, I'm obviously aware that this is multiple millions of rands more expensive than what I usually drive in this job, but generally speaking, it's pretty refined, pretty comfortable, and this road I'm driving on right now is truly awful. Like, it is bumpy, it is not a great road, it would not be fun in any car, and I've got to say, it feels good in this GT mode. But I suppose if they've gotten things right in the supercar category now, so when we head out into this more open road where I can stretch its legs, I suppose that's really where we'll see if the DB12 is that much better, and if it is something now that people can consider over the likes of a McLaren, for example. So let's head out onto that road and check out what the DB12's performance is like and fiddle with some of the driving modes. out on an open road, the DB12 in Sport Plus. It's a very different animal. Oh dearie me. That is fast. There's only one word for this engine and gearbox combination. It is just savage. In Sport Plus mode, it's a very different proposition to earlier in the GT mode. It really, when they say they've made properly discernible differences between the driving modes, I concur. It is it struggles for traction in the first 2 gears. Then once it gets going, it is just ferociously fast. The thing is, it weighs about 1,700 kilos curb weight, so it's lighter than a current generation M3 or M4, and it's got almost the Suzuki Swift's more power and torque than that M3, M4, and those are savagely fast cars in their own right. This thing is outrageously quick. We've established there's quite a lot of power, 500 kilowatts, 800 newton meters through the rear wheels. This thing in 3rd and 4th gear is savagely fast. Genuinely. I drive a lot of cars. This thing is very, very quick in 3rd and 4th gear. 1st and 2nd gear, it's a bit meh, because it just can't put all the power down. You're trying to, it's got those massive PS5 Michelins on, which are great and all, but even a great Michelin tire can't put that much power and torque down. Handling is good. My underpants are soiled. Success. Oh, hard on the brakes. I gotta say, I'm not getting any red flags here for this being a pseudo supercar. It just feels like a nicely damped supercar. It's about as fast as you'd like it to be. It's engaging, it's keeping me on the edge of my seats, but it's also not obliterating my back. It's got that McLaren quality to it where it's still comfortable but really quick at the same time. The thing that I've noticed here, so it's got ZF 8-speed torque converter, so launch control, you have to kind of build the boost up against the torque converter, which I found with rear wheel drive cars has never really worked well. Either you get this bog or you just get excessive wheel spin. So let's do a launch control, see what it's like. Aston claim 3.5, 3.6 seconds, 0 to 100, and a top speed in excess of 320 kilometers an hour. So let's get a launch control going. Race start active. There we go. Oh yeah. Wow. Like first 2 gears, there's not much, but wow, it really gets going after that. Turn it in. The back just wants to swing out all the time. Oh, it's keeping me very, very focused. Like I said earlier, the sensation of speed is definitely there, so it's not like it's isolating me from what's happening outside, and that makes it a bit leery but really fun at the same time. Oh, that is quick through there. Woo! Okay, scared myself. There we go. That's what we want. We want the confidence to scare ourselves, but not too much. Whoa. Like, would you miss the V12? Well, I think you'd miss the noise, but there's nothing in here that makes me want for more performance. Whoa! Holy. Okay. I don't think you're going to be wanting in terms of performance with this car. Maybe the purists among us will miss the V12, but to be honest, this is every bit an Aston Martin as I would ever want one to be. It's fast, it's comfortable, it looks just like nothing else. It is one of the most gorgeous cars I've ever seen, and it's a hoot to drive. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. I'm not scared of the car. I'm mildly intimidated, but I'm not scared of it, and that makes it really, really approachable for me. Like, I like to be a little bit scared, but I like to be slightly petrified, but not terrified of the car. Not GT2 RS where I'm like scared to look at the key because I know if I take it out for a drive, it could kill me. This doesn't give me that vibe. It just gives me this like relentless surge of acceleration and this sensation of speed that makes me so happy. It's like a smile machine, but a smile machine that's good for my 33-year-old lower back, which is not what it used to be. The noise. I mean, there is a V8, and you can most certainly discern that this is a V8 powering this car, but I kind of feel like I want it to be louder. I know it doesn't really suit the character of the car to be this verbose, loud muscle car like V8, but at the same time, if they're gonna make it a super tourer of sorts, I think it could have a bit more. Is it supercar? It's hard to say really, because in many ways I prefer this to the McLaren GT, because the McLaren, if anything, felt a little bit too easy to do these things with. This feels slightly more leery, so I suppose it does have supercar elements to it. It can also hunker down and be a proper GT car. It's interesting, to say the least. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe to the AutoTrader South Africa YouTube channel. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed this content. Leave us a comment letting us know what you think of the DB12 and what car you'd like us to test out next. We've got a car buying and selling service here on AutoTrader. We do both, so check out our online portal if you'd like to buy or sell your vehicle. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Cheers.
Search AutoTrader.